Previously on Trail Blogger.
Alright, what's up YouTube? I've had a lot of people asking me, what's up with the Banshee? Where's the green Banshee? When are we going to see another green Banshee video? And trust me guys, I want to be riding the Banshee right now too, but had a couple issues with the Banshee, and a lot of people were asking me, you know, is the Banshee blown up? What happened to it? And the Banshee did overheat. It did have a problem there on the hill. But it wasn't actually the engine. At first I thought that I did blow the Banshee up. I overheated it a couple of times in a row to the point where it actually scared me enough that I thought that the engine was blown up on it. But after doing a compression test and a leak down test, it doesn't look like the engine's actually blown up at all. It never did stop running. It actually ran great the entire time. This was actually the problem. So this is the rear axle carrier. It's got bearings inside of it, and the axle spins inside of here. And about halfway up Rattlesnake Ridge, I started noticing, actually I noticed the day before that the bearings in this carrier were starting to go bad. It was really great riding weather, I'm not gonna lie. I should not have taken the Banshee out, but against my better judgment, I did it anyhow, and I took the Banshee for a ride. I got all the way out there. I was on one of the steepest parts of the trail, and I realized that the carrier was completely seizing up on me. So at that point, I didn't really have much of a choice. I could have turned around, but it was a long way back to the road the way we had come, and we were quite a ways out there. I didn't want to leave my Banshee out on the trail because it's my baby, guys. I don't want to leave the Banshee on the trail. So the only guy that was with me at the time was riding a dirt bike. It would have been fairly difficult for him to tow me out on a dirt bike, so there was really no way for him to tow me out. Twinkles was on the side-by-side, and it doesn't really fit down that trail very well. So really my only choice, aside from just leaving the Banshee out there and coming back with parts, was to just ride it the way it was. So with the carrier starting to lock up and I could hear the back starting to freeze, I just basically kept flooring it and went up the hill with the axle dragging inside. So these little tiny ball bearings, you know, they go inside the wheel bearings here. So as all these little bearings started to fall apart inside the rear axle carrier, it started to seize up more and more, and the Banshee was pressing harder and harder to get up the hill to the point where it just started overheating. So I let it cool off, and then I did it again, and it overheated again, and I really should have just left it there and came back with a quad or something to tow me back, but I did it again, and I overheated it again. So I actually overheated it 3 times in a row. So here's a look at some of the ball bearings that I found in my rear carrier. This is just a few of them. They were all basically just eating up the carrier and the axle. You can see they're all flat and chewed up on one side from getting caught between the axle and the carrier. You can see the carnage that happens to the carrier right there. This carrier is now basically junk. I've already ordered another stock carrier, and I also have a dual row carrier that I might use instead. So after I overheated it a couple of times and decided I was going to try and limp it home anyhow, I actually threw the chain. This is the carnage on the other side of the carrier where the chain's all chewed into the carrier. All right then, so if the Banshee's not blown up, where does that leave us? Where are we at right now? Well, as you can see, I went ahead and tore the engine out anyhow. I had a Harbor Freight compression tester that I would use first to test the Banshee. I forgot that those are complete junk when it comes to testing the Banshee. And I tested the Banshee. It only had 60 pounds per side. I thought that the engine was bad. I thought that, you know, from the overheating and everything, that it had lost compression. So I went ahead and tore the engine out. Well, then I kind of remembered that the Harbor Freight compression testers are junk, and I decided to try it again. And well, as you could see earlier, I got about 135, 140 per side. So I think that's good enough to run it again. I'm going to go ahead and leave the Banshee engine together, but while I have it all taken apart, I figured that there was some other things that I need to take care of. So a few of the other things I need to take care of, the A-arm bushings for the front suspension, those are completely worn out, and I was having some issues where the A-arms were just like shaking inside of their mounts because the bushings were bad. There was so much slop inside of the front A-arms that they just needed to be torn apart and rebuilt with new bushings. So tore the front A-arms apart. I've got a bent front shock because one of my front shocks actually came loose while I was riding and stabbed into the ground. I went off a jump, the shock came loose, and when I came down, the bottom of the shock bit into the ground and it kind of bent the shock shafts. I was like riding along, all of a sudden she's like, so I sent those shocks off to Joe Gacka Suspension. So when I'm done putting the Banshee back together, I'll have a full, fresh new suspension, fresh new rebuilt shocks, and rebuilt extended A-arms. I'm also going to go ahead and redo the bushings in the back while I'm at it, and I have the new rear axle carrier with bearings to install as well. So that's just basically what's going on, guys. I've got the Banshee completely tore down to the frame. I figured as long as I've got it tore down this far, I might as well paint it again. What you're looking at right now is actually a 5-year-old paint job. So this Banshee has been in the rocks, the dirt, woods. You know, you guys have seen the type of riding I do. This thing has seen it all. And this is the paint job that I put on it about 5 years ago when I first got the Banshee and repainted it. It was a silver originally, and I painted it black. So you can see there's some chips and some dings, but overall I think it's held up pretty good considering. I was considering blasting it, sandblasting it all the way down to the frame and then having it powder coated, but here in the rocks that we ride in, powder coating a frame, it just really doesn't make sense. It's going to chip whether it's powder coat or paint, and it's just easier for me to touch up the paint. So I decided to just go ahead and paint it again. I'm going to touch up any of the spots where the rocks have chipped it, and then just give the whole thing a fresh coating. Before I do any of that though, I'm going to strip it down and prep it, make sure it's ready to be cleaned before I put a fresh coat of paint on the frame. So that's where we're at, guys. The Banshee is not blown up after all, but I do have it torn completely apart. So I'm going to be rebuilding the suspension, painting the frame, doing a couple of other little things here and there that need to be taken care of. Some things are just easier to do with the Banshee taken apart. So thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. I know everybody wants to see some more Banshee videos, and I appreciate you guys watching, and thanks for liking this video. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and hit that bell icon if you want to be notified of future Trail Blogger episodes.